Hey, 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 you know what time it is? Woo! Get into it! Get into it! Yes! We're back! Hi! Hi, lovelies. How we doing? Welcome back to Storytime with Chris. Like I always say, you don't have to watch these videos when they go live. You're more than welcome to watch them in your downtime, nap time, max and relax and chillaxing time, in between time, mean time, scheme time, study time, break time, work time, CP time, anytime that you want to hear a highly animated voice bring you wonderful stories of magic, fantasy, science fiction, adventure, and many, many more in between. Now, it's Monday. Started off with listening to Chala, Hey Chala, which is the original theme song of Dragon Ball Z, and I adore it. Not to be confused with the Rock the Dragon English version of the opening theme song to Dragon Ball Z back in the day. Still awesome, but two separate things. But without further ado, we're going to continue our journey with Prince Jen, because Fragrance of Orchard, the girl who was bedridden and sick, has been given a very awesome kite that gives her the ability to ascend to the heavens. She's being taken care of by a very powerful spiritual being in the form of an eagle known as Nyang Nyang, and she is teaching Fragrance of Orchard how to, see as far as she wants to, fly as high as she wants to, be able to discern, people's energy and demeanor. She's actually one of my favorite characters in this book, Fragrance of Orchard. Not to say that any of the other characters in this story are bad. It's just that I've always been a fan of characters who wish to fly. Even though I'm afraid of heights, which is a fun fact, I am terrified of heights. I love the idea of flying, especially if you have wings, whether they're like feathery angelic wings or insectoid butterfly wings or bat-like wings. I love the idea of flying. I love reading manga or comic books where characters like Superman or even Batman, when he's gliding, the vision of flight is so liberating to me and so otherworldly that I will always have an immense respect for that. So, we are back. Let's go ahead and get started. And no, I do not own the music that you're listening to in the background. Actually, hold on. We might switch it up and do something a little bit different. Yes. Chapter 19. Jen holds an umbrella. Chinchol paints a picture. An invitation to dinner. For some days after leaving Grandmother Plum Blossom and Fragrance of Orchard, Jen pressed on toward Chaisang. Sometimes he slept in the encampments of fleeing peasants and villagers, but as often as not he bedded down in the underbrush amid the fallen leaves of autumn. Someone had given him a length of quilt. Nights he rolled up in it, days he wrapped it around his shoulders and belted it with a rope at his waist. A raw north wind had risen, nipping him as he struck cross-country over fields crackling with morning frost under heavy purple clouds. The first snow showers began as he made his way through a narrow valley, past low brown hills and bare trees, until now, after leaving the roads, he had come upon no other travelers. But here, beside a shallow stream, he stopped short. For all his discomfort, he could not help laughing. A young man in quilted jacket and felt cap with ear flaps jutting like wings squatted on the turf. With one hand, he tried to keep a sheaf of papers from blowing away. With the other, he attempted to put up an umbrella. He was not succeeding at either task. "Don't stand there gawking and grinning, fool! Lend a hand!" the stranger called just before the umbrella collapsed over his head and he disappeared into the folds. Jen hurried toward him, helping to keep the papers from flying off and to disentangle its owner from the octopus clutches of the umbrella. "Excellent! That should do it!" Having crawled out, the youth securely raised his portable canopy and settled his cap on his head. "Untrustworthy contraption! It attacks me out of sheer malice. When I paint, I use it to keep the sun out of my eyes, you understand." "I'd understand better," Jen said, laughing, "if the sun were shining. It pleased you to call me a fool, but I wonder which of us is the greater." I meant it only in a friendly sense. Since there are more fools than wise men, I assume it more likely you were one of the former. But you're right. No sun, of course not. I should have said snow. Let us now scrutinize and determine if my latest effort is completely ruined. Chinchou, as he named himself, took up the scroll he had been working on. Jen saw the beginnings of a landscape painting done with a few bold strokes and here and there splashes of muted earth colors. Unfinished, Jen recognized it was nonetheless beautifully done and complimented the artist of his work. You like it? Tell me then. What shall it be called? Chinchou was about Jen's age and stature, with a good-natured face and quick, wry smile. The deep lines at the corners of his eyes may have resulted from squinting far into the distance or peering closely at his handiwork. 10,000 blotches? The snowdrops have melted all over it, but no, not ruined at all. Better than I could have done on purpose. Now, if your honorable self will favor me by holding this accursed umbrella over my head. Jen did as Chinchou asked. The artist worked quickly, making the wet spots and stains a part of the picture. Jen shook his head in admiration. Chinchou merely shrugged, declaring that someday he would do a better one. With that, he packed up his materials, balanced the umbrella on his shoulder like a spear, and invited Jen to come with him to the nearby village of Ping'er. You look as if you could stand a good meal, Chinchou said as they walked along. I'm staying in a reasonably acceptable inn. That is, the food won't poison you. The landlord will put you up for the night if you want. He still owes me for the work I did for him. From this, Jen assumed that Chinchou had bargained one of his paintings for food and lodging. The artist chuckled when Jen asked him if such was the case. No, much better than that, Chinchou replied. I painted his door. Not a picture of it. I mean that I painted it with red lacquer. Also, I wrote out a piece of calligraphy for him, a magical charm. Protect this dwelling from dragons. The fellow's quite happy with it. He's convinced it works. In fact, it does, Chinchou added with a wink. There's not a single dragon anywhere in the neighborhood. And you, honorable ragbag. Your name's Jen, you said, the painter went on. What's your occupation? Prosperous merchant in disguise? No. A government official? Hardly. You look seedy enough to be an honest fellow. Jen laughed. I have no occupation. No longer. I'm searching for someone. A flute girl and my friends. Search away. Good luck to you, Chinchou said. I also search, in my case for landscapes to paint. This one's interesting. Bleak at first, but if you look at it the right way, quite marvelous. Someday I'd like to do the Lotus Bridge in Chiang'an, or the Happy Phoenix Gardens near the river. I heard they're very fine. Yes, they are. Jen's heart turned suddenly heavy at the recollection. I'd almost forgotten them. You've been there? Chinchou said, impressed. You've seen them? You'll tell me more of them later. A merry dinner will jog your memory. Chinchou rambled on, gossiping, telling tales and jokes. His contagious high spirits lifted Jen's own. The two travelers had become good companions by the time they reached Peng'er. At the inn, however, they found no merry dinner, no cheer of any kind. Villagers filled the little square, scurrying in all directions. Some had grimly begun loading household goods into carts and burros. Closed! Closed! The landlord waved his arms at Jin and Chinchou stepping into the eating room. Out! Be off while you can! Jin has struck up a pleasant friendship with the good-natured Chinchou, but it seems both will have to go without their dinner. Why such alarm? Find out and read the next chapter. And that is where we will end for today. Not a super long reading, but a reading nonetheless. And I like the way these chapters are set up because these are page turners. It makes you want to go ahead and read the next installment of the chapter. And yes, got my Little Mermaid t-shirt on. Shout out to Jodie Benson, the original Ariel. Shout out to Halle Bailey, the live action adaptation of Ariel. Yes, both of them are valid. Both of them are great. But, as always, I really appreciate you joining me for Storytime. I will see you all next time, y'all. See you later. Bye-bye.